Top lazy gardener's dream. 18 perennials, perfect for containers. Easy pot hacks for stunning indoor and outdoor gardens. Hello, dear friends of Earthly Delights. If you're anything like me, you adore the simple joy of nurturing green life. Whether it's a cozy jungle of potted plants on your balcony or a cheerful little corner of blooms in your backyard. Maybe you're short on time, live in a snug apartment, or find bending and digging tough on your back and knees these days. Or perhaps you just crave a peaceful hobby that feels more like therapy than hard work. Well, today I've got a treat for you. We're diving into the ultimate lazy gardener's dream. 18 incredible perennial plants that thrive in pots and come back year after year, saving you both money and precious energy. From velvety leaves that beg to be touched, to elegant grasses that dance in the breeze, to flowers that stubbornly bloom even through snow. This is a list you'll want to keep close. So get comfy, maybe grab a cup of tea, and let's explore how these magical plants can transform your space into a lush, low-maintenance haven. And if you find yourself inspired, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more earthy wonders. Ready? Let's grow together. Part 1, Texture and Foliage Superstars. Let's kick things off with plants that don't just fill a pot, they create living art through texture and foliage alone. These beauties thrive in containers and turn any patio or doorstep into a calming retreat. If you love plants that look stunning even without flashy flowers, you're about to discover some true green gems. 1. Lamb's ear. First up is the irresistibly touchable lamb's ear. Just imagine brushing your fingers over those soft, silvery leaves. It's like petting a tiny garden rabbit. This plant is a favorite for kids and anyone who enjoys a sensory moment in the garden. I once gave a pot of lamb's ear to my elderly neighbor, and she told me it became her little daily therapy, running her hands over the velvety foliage to soothe her mind. Lamb's ear thrives in pots, needs minimal fuss once established, and laughs off dry spells, making it perfect if you travel often or forget to water now and then. Place it where you'll pass by often. Trust me, you won't resist reaching out to feel that gentle texture. Plus, when summer arrives, it sends up delicate spikes of tiny purple flowers that bees adore, bringing a whisper of life and movement to your container garden. 2. Japanese forest grass. Next, let me introduce you to a plant that brings pure elegance to any shady spot, Japanese forest grass, or Hakanekloa. Picture delicate golden or lime green blades cascading over the sides of a beautiful ceramic pot, almost like a gentle waterfall frozen in time. This grass moves with the slightest breeze, creating a tranquil, almost meditative effect. I often find myself pausing just to watch it sway. There's something deeply calming about its graceful motion. Unlike many grasses, it loves the shade, making it a dream for covered porches or north-facing balconies where little else wants to grow. It's also wonderfully slow-growing, so you won't have to worry about it overtaking your container. Combine it with hostas or ferns for a lush, layered look. Japanese forest grass turns your pot into a tiny Zen retreat, inviting you to slow down, breathe, and let go of the day's worries every time you step outside. 3. Coral bells. Now let's brighten things up with the dazzling world of coral bells, also known as heuchera. These little marvels are like living jewels for your containers. Imagine a single pot bursting with leaves in shades of deep plum, fiery red, lime green, even silver with purple veins, sometimes all on the same plant. Coral bells are champions of color that last from spring well into fall, and some varieties even keep their hues through mild winters. They're fantastic for adding contrast and personality to your patio or garden nook. I once planted 3 different coral bells together in a shallow bowl, and it looked like an artist had poured out a palette right onto my porch. They thrive in partial shade and are surprisingly tough, asking only for regular watering and a little love. If you want a container that wows visitors without demanding constant attention, coral bells are truly your dependable, colorful companions. 4. Silver mound artemisia. Let's add a plant that glows like moonlight, silver mound artemisia. This little perennial forms soft, feathery mounds of silvery foliage that seem to catch every bit of evening light, turning your pot into a gentle beacon at dusk. It's one of those plants that looks fancy, but actually thrives on neglect. I once forgot to water mine for nearly 2 weeks during a hot spell, and it still looked flawless. like it was daring me to test it again. Perfect for sunny spots, Silver Mound is drought-tolerant and rarely fusses over pests. It pairs beautifully with bold-colored blooms or deep green foliage, adding a delicate, frosty contrast that makes your entire container arrangement pop. Plus, if you run your hand across its soft leaves, there's a subtle, herbal scent that's surprisingly calming. For busy gardeners, or let's be honest, sometimes lazy ones, this plant is an absolute gem. Part 2. Shade lovers that pop. Now let's wander into the cooler corners of your garden, those shady spots that often get overlooked. Just because the sun skips these areas doesn't mean you have to settle for dull pots. In fact, some of the most enchanting plants absolutely thrive without direct sun, bringing unexpected color and charm right where you need it most. 5. Japanese painted fern. Stepping into this shady sanctuary, we find the breathtaking Japanese painted fern. It truly lives up to its name. Its fronds look hand-brushed with strokes of silver, green, and hints of burgundy. It's the kind of plant that makes guests lean in for a closer look, often asking if it's even real. This fern flourishes in the dappled light of covered patios or under taller companions, making it perfect for layering in a container arrangement. I remember planting one in a rustic pot near my reading chair. Every morning, dew would collect along its silvery edges, sparkling like tiny jewels. Unlike fussier ferns, it's remarkably easygoing. As long as you give it consistently moist soil and a shady retreat, it rewards you with graceful, arching fronds season after season. If you're seeking quiet elegance that transforms a dim corner into a woodland dream, Japanese painted fern is simply unmatched. 6. Lungwort. Next up is a plant with a rather unfortunate name but utterly enchanting personality. Lungwort, or pulmonaria. Don't let the name fool you, this plant is pure garden artistry. Its leaves are sprinkled with silvery spots like someone splashed them with moonlight. No two leaves look exactly alike, making every plant a tiny masterpiece. In early spring, when most plants are still hitting snooze, lungwort wakes up with clusters of delicate blue, pink or white flowers, sometimes all on the same plant. I'll never forget one chilly March morning, stepping outside and spotting those brave little blooms pushing through last bits of frost. It felt like a personal message of hope. Lungwort thrives in shady containers, asks for little beyond regular watering, and keeps its charming foliage long after the flowers fade. It's also deer-resistant, so you won't wake up to find your beautiful pot turned into someone's midnight snack. Truly, lungwort is a plant that surprises and delights, season after season. 7. Hostas. Now let's bring in the undeniable royalty of shade gardens, hostas. These lush, leafy wonders come in a dazzling array of sizes and colors, from tiny teacup varieties perfect for tabletop pots to giants that spill dramatically over large containers. Their foliage ranges from deep forest greens to luminous chartreuse, with striped splashes and borders of creamy white or golden yellow. I have a spot on my porch where 3 different hostas cozy up in the same pot, and together they create a living tapestry that draws compliments from every visitor. Hostas love shady spots, making them ideal for covered patios or under staircases where sunlight rarely lingers. Give them steady moisture and they'll reward you with plump, healthy leaves all season long. Some varieties even send up delicate, fragrant flower spikes in midsummer, adding a gentle perfume to your little oasis. If you want a plant that makes your shady spaces look lush, tropical, and effortlessly elegant, hostas are your perfect partners. 8. Toad lily. And now for a hidden gem that feels like a little secret between passionate gardeners. Toad lily, or Tricertus. This enchanting plant waits until late summer or early fall to unveil its exotic, orchid-like blooms, just when most gardens are starting to wind down. The flowers are small but intricately detailed, often white or lavender with deep purple spots, almost as if an artist took a fine brush and painted each petal by hand. I once tucked a toad lily into a shady container near my garden bench, and months later was stunned to find it bursting with these tiny, mesmerizing blossoms. Like a private show just for me. Toad lilies thrive in moist, well-draining soil and partial to full shade, making them perfect for those tricky cool corners where sun lovers sulk. They're also surprisingly hardy, returning each year to put on their quiet but spectacular display. For anyone who loves surprises and wants their container garden to keep offering up delights well into autumn, toad lily is a must-have marvel. Part 3. Bloom machines for color and pollinators. Now that we've explored the calming world of foliage and shade, it's time to dial up the color. These next plants are your go-to bloom machines, exploding with flowers that not only brighten up your pots, but also draw in cheerful pollinators. If you dream of watching butterflies dance or bees busily working around your patio, you're going to love these container stars. 9. Daylilies. Let's start this burst of color with the ever-reliable daylily. These cheerful plants are true workhorses, sending up elegant, arching leaves and countless flower stalks all summer long. Each individual bloom lasts just a day, hence their name. But don't let that fool you. Daylilies produce so many buds that your containers stay vibrant for weeks, sometimes even months. They come in nearly every color you can imagine, from sunny yellows and fiery oranges to deep reds and even delicate pastels. I once placed a pot of mixed daylilies by my front steps, and every morning it felt like opening a surprise gift to see which flowers had unfurled overnight. They're wonderfully low maintenance, thriving on minimal fuss, and only needing a sunny spot and occasional watering to put on their show. Plus, many modern varieties are bred to rebloom, extending your garden's festival of color well into the fall. For effortless, season-long cheer, daylilies are simply unbeatable. 10. Creeping phlox. Now let's add a plant that knows how to spill, drape, and downright dazzle. Creeping phlox. When this charming perennial bursts into bloom each spring, it creates a vibrant carpet of color that seems to pour right over the edges of your pots like a living waterfall. Imagine shades of pink, purple, blue, or pristine white cascading from your containers, completely blanketing the foliage beneath, so all you see is a mass of cheerful flowers. I once planted creeping phlox in a wide terracotta bowl on a pedestal, and it transformed into a frothy mound that stopped passers-by in their tracks. It's also a magnet for butterflies and friendly garden pollinators, adding even more life and motion to your space. Once established, creeping phlox is tough as nails, returning stronger each year with very little effort on your part. If you love plants that practically perform acrobatics out of their pots and put on a breathtaking spring show, creeping phlox will quickly become one of your absolute favorites. 11. Astilbe. Next on our journey through container bloomers is the feathery spectacle of astilbe. These gorgeous plants send up plumes of delicate flowers that look like pastel fireworks frozen mid-burst. Available in dreamy shades of white, pink, red, and lavender, astilbe thrives in partial to full shade, bringing a surprising splash of color to those dimmer corners of your patio or porch. I remember planting a trio of astilbes in a large ceramic pot by my shaded reading nook. When they bloomed, it was like the entire area lit up with soft, fluttering candles. Even after the flowers fade, their deeply cut, fern-like foliage stays attractive all season long, adding rich texture to your display. Astilbe does appreciate consistently moist soil, perfect if you're someone who finds peace in watering your plants regularly. Let them reward you with years of ethereal blooms and a gentle rustle every time a breeze passes by. If you want your containers to whisper elegance, astilbe is your plant. 12. Hardy fuchsias. Now for a delightful surprise. Hardy fuchsias. Unlike their more delicate tropical cousins, these perennials can tough out chilly seasons in pots with just a bit of protection, rewarding you with exquisite dangling blossoms year after year. Their flowers look like tiny ballerinas in vivid pinks, purples, and reds, pirouetting gracefully above lush green foliage. I once placed a hardy fuchsia on my patio table, and it quickly became the main stage for hummingbirds, who zipped in daily for their nectar treat. Fuchsias thrive in part shade, making them perfect for spots that get bright morning sun and softer afternoon light. They appreciate consistent moisture and will bloom profusely from late spring well into fall. When colder months approach, simply mulch the base or move the pot to a sheltered corner. For gardeners who love a showy plant that pulls double duty, feeding pollinators while offering stunning color displays, hardy fuchsias are pure enchantment in a pot. Part 4. Drama and Architecture. The statement pieces. Now let's shift from soft mounds and delicate blooms to the bold, architectural stars of the container world. These are the plants that turn heads, create movement, and add height or striking structure to your garden arrangements. If you love pots that look like living sculptures, dynamic, textured, and full of life. This next set will absolutely thrill you. 13. Ornamental grasses. Let's start this section with the mesmerizing beauty of ornamental grasses. There's something almost hypnotic about watching their slender blades sway and dance in the slightest breeze. It's like your garden is quietly breathing. Varieties like fountain grass, blue fescue, or Japanese forest grass stay compact enough for pots, but pack a dramatic punch. I once placed a pot of fountain grass on my deck, and during sunsets, the feathery seed heads seemed to catch every last golden ray, glowing as if lit from within. These grasses also add wonderful movement and a soothing rustle that turns a still garden into a living soundscape. Many hold their form even through winter, giving your containers graceful silhouettes when everything else goes dormant. Drought-tolerant and largely carefree, ornamental grasses are perfect for busy or forgetful gardeners who still crave elegance and motion in their outdoor spaces. For true year-round charm with almost no effort, you simply can't go wrong. 14. Clematis. Now let's bring in a bit of vertical magic with the enchanting clematis. This flowering vine transforms even the plainest balcony railing, porch post, or humble tomato cage into a breathtaking tower of blooms. Clematis offers incredible variety, from small, star-shaped flowers to large, dinner plate-sized blossoms in every shade imaginable. Some varieties bloom in spring, others in summer, and a few lucky choices even grace you with 2 shows a year. I once trained a clematis up a simple bamboo tripod in a container, and by mid-season, it was a living bouquet that seemed to defy gravity. The key to clematis is simple. Keep their roots cool and shaded while letting their heads reach for the sun. In a pot, you can easily tuck other low plants around the base or add a layer of mulch. With just a little guiding, clematis will climb beautifully, creating a stunning vertical statement that draws eyes upward and makes your garden feel lush and grand, no matter how small the space. 15. Sedums. And now for the ultimate low-fuss architectural wonder. Sedums. These succulents come in so many forms it's almost hard to believe they're all cousins. From tiny, trailing varieties that spill gently over pot edges to tall, statuesque types that stand proudly like living sculptures. Their thick, water-storing leaves mean they shrug off dry spells with ease, which is perfect for those of us who sometimes forget to water or love to travel. I once planted a mix of creeping sedum and upright autumn joy in a broad terracotta bowl, and by late summer it turned into a masterpiece of texture, dotted with rosy flower heads that bees couldn't resist. Sedums also shine late in the season when many other plants are winding down, providing rich color and shape right into fall. They're practically bulletproof and keep coming back stronger each year. If you're after a container star that's both striking and wonderfully self-sufficient, sedums are your go-to plant companions. Part 5. Fragrance and multi-sense experiences. Now that we've explored plants for color, texture, and bold drama, let's indulge the senses even more deeply. These next container stars don't just please the eye, they offer gentle fragrances and tactile joys that turn any garden stroll into a full-body experience. If you love brushing past leaves that release soothing scents or flowers that invite you to pause and breathe deeply, you're going to adore what comes next. 16. Lavender. Let's begin this sensory journey with the timeless charm of lavender. Few plants capture hearts and noses quite like this one. Just brushing your hand through its silvery foliage releases that unmistakable, calming aroma that instantly transports you to sun-drenched fields in Provence. I keep a pot of lavender by my front steps so I can steal a soothing moment every time I come home. Its slender spikes of purple flowers not only look stunning against the gray-green leaves, but also draw in bees and butterflies, turning your patio into a tiny wildlife haven. Lavender thrives in sunny spots and prefers well-drained soil, making it perfect for containers that heat up quickly. It's drought-tolerant once settled, so it practically looks after itself. Beyond its beauty, you can snip a few stems to dry for homemade sachets or add to a relaxing evening tea. For anyone longing to bring fragrance, beauty, and a little Mediterranean magic to their garden, lavender is simply essential. 17. Lemon balm. Next up is a plant that surprises many with just how delightful it can be. Lemon balm. At first glance, it might seem like an ordinary leafy herb, but run your fingers across its textured green leaves, and you'll release a burst of bright, lemony fragrance that instantly lifts your mood. I love keeping a pot of lemon balm near my kitchen door. Whenever I step outside, I can't resist pinching a leaf and inhaling that fresh, cheerful scent. Lemon balm grows beautifully in containers, bounces back year after year, and handles partial shade with ease. It's also a wonderful multitasker. Snip a few sprigs to toss into iced water or tea for a gentle citrus zing, or let it simply do its thing as a lush, fragrant green accent. Bees adore its tiny flowers, adding gentle motion and life to your patio. For gardeners who crave sensory delights, something to see, touch, and especially smell, lemon balm is a wonderfully easy choice that never disappoints. Part 6. Winter and Four-Season Heroes. As we wrap up this journey, let's celebrate plants that don't fade when the cold rolls in. These final container champions bring beauty and interest right through winter, reminding you that your garden doesn't have to sleep just because the temperature drops. If you've ever felt a little blue looking at bare pots in January, these next treasures will warm your heart all year long. 18. Hellebores, Lenten Roses. Let's close with one of the most magical container perennials you can grow. Hellebores, also called Lenten roses. Imagine glancing out your window in late winter, when everything else is bare and gray, and spotting graceful flowers nodding above glossy evergreen leaves. These beauties often bloom right through snow, as if to quietly declare that spring isn't far behind. I have a pot of hellebores by my back door, and every February it becomes my little beacon of hope, its blooms unfurling in shades of creamy white, dusky pink, or even near black, many with delicate freckles or peakedy edges. Beyond their winter magic, hellebores keep their handsome foliage year-round, providing rich texture even when not in flower. They thrive in partial to full shade, need only occasional watering once established, and are wonderfully deer-resistant. For gardeners craving a pot that offers surprises and solace when the rest of the world is still asleep, hellebores are truly an unmatched gift. Pot hacks for lazy gardeners. Before we wrap up, let me share a few of my favorite container tricks that make gardening almost effortless, perfect for those of us who adore plants but don't always have time or energy to fuss over them. First, always use a high-quality potting mix instead of garden soil. It stays light, drains well, and won't turn rock hard in your pots. I also love tucking slow-release fertilizer pellets into the soil at planting time. Just one sprinkle and your plants feast all season. Another clever hack is grouping your pots close together. It creates a cozy microclimate that keeps moisture in, meaning less watering for you. And on especially hot days, I sometimes toss a few ice cubes on my shade-loving containers. As they melt slowly, they deliver just the right sip of water without shocking tender roots. Little shortcuts like these let you enjoy lush, vibrant container gardens with barely any extra effort, leaving you more time to simply sit back and savor your earthly delights. As we come to the end of this green journey together, I want to leave you with a little personal reflection. You know, there was a time when life felt overwhelmingly heavy for me. Stress at work, long days that blurred into each other. Then, almost by accident, I started filling my patio with pots. At first, it was just a couple of plants, but as the seasons rolled by, I noticed how each container brought small moments of wonder. The way dew clung to a fern, or how a bee hovered around my lavender. It slowed me down, reminded me to breathe, and quite simply, made me happier. That's the magic I hope these plants bring into your life too. A daily reason to smile, even on hard days. If any of these perennials sparked your curiosity, I'd love to hear which one you'll try first. Share your stories in the comments. I truly enjoy reading them. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Earthly Delights so we can keep growing this peaceful little world together. Until next time, happy planting, and may your days be filled with simple, green joys.